All right, you guys, so we're going to start off a little bit of a hip opening. This is going to be more of a hip-driven type of flow routine on here. Goal-wise, maybe 10 minutes tops, all right? Now, before we get into this, all right, we want to first off make sure we want to focus on a couple different things, okay? We want to make sure, first and foremost, we want to come from a place of curiosity, right? Like as we're going through each of these segments, each of these movement patterns, kind of see where your restrictions are, what's kind of talking to you a little bit, where you might be feeling a little bit of a tension or maybe some sensitivity, or just some different things that maybe are coming up for you, right? You might notice like on some sides, you might notice a little bit more tension compared to the other side, or you also might notice a little bit more sensation compared to what you normally are used to experiencing. So as we're working through these things, we want to first and foremost allow yourself to not come from a place of guarding it. We want to be able to open up this and create more passive range of motion through these tissues and get some blood flow and just get some more fluid and everything else promoting through the joints, the muscles moving, and just kind of just getting ourselves in there. As we work through this, you guys, yet again, there's not one set routine that we would necessarily want to say like this is it. As we're going through, if you find some spots that are maybe talking to you a little bit more, it might be a good thing just to kind of make a list of those of throwing in that in kind of your tool bag, some longer of the things to accumulate as far as some things to throw yourself through. So as we're going through this flow, take the initiative, give you full permission to like, hey, you know what, this is kind of a one that I normally feel pretty open on. I'm gonna rotate and I'm gonna move in there and incorporate these kind of things, okay? So yet again, we're gonna move about 5 minutes on each side and just kind of work through there, okay? But before I get started, you'll notice I kind of have an array of different tools and different apparatuses on this. I kind of want to give you guys just yet again, just some simple things that if you're maybe a little bit restricted in areas that I find myself in, especially when it comes to the hips. I tend to use some other apparatuses to help prop me up and allow me myself to get into better positions through here. Okay, now I'm using different things that I have available here at our facility, but if you're doing this at home, you might not have the same availability. So, I mean, basically, it's allow yourself to get creative with some of the things, but you may have a ball, you got a foam roller, there's an ab mat, you might have a box, whatever it may be. Allow yourself to utilize those things. You know, you might have a yoga block or something along those lines to help you kind of just get into better positions where we're not having to get into so much restriction that it might allow you to get into that a little bit better. All right, so if you see me going through these, the flow motion today with these apparatuses, that's what we're trying to do. All right, so first thing we're gonna do, all right, is just to start to get some, exposure and allow ourselves to kind of just get some movement in the hip. And simply, we're just going to do is just take our foot outside our hand. Okay, we're just going to take foot outside the hand. We're going to do both sides. It doesn't matter necessarily which side you start with. But on this, all I'm going to do is just literally, I'm going to start with just some simple circles. Just some circles, just to kind of get me to open up a little bit. See exactly what may be talking to me a little bit. Like for right now, it was a long weekend. I was working outside, so my hips and my groin are a little bit tight as I'm through there. So I'm just getting some circle actions through there. I'm not trying to necessarily get into a lot of like driving force or anything. I'm trying to open up and get some passive flow through here. Okay, so you can see from the side, as I'm working through there, I might use my knee as a little bit of a set. Assistance to kind of get that going out through there. The other thing we're going to kind of do is I'm going to use the ball here just to kind of let myself prop myself up through here. If you're a little more mobile, you might allow yourself to drop all the way to the floor and just let that hip kind of passively open. But as we're going through these positions, okay, we want to focus on and be aware of a couple different things. As I get into position where it may feel a little bit restricted, can you breathe? All right, now one thing we want to be aware of, if I can't breathe in a position, I don't own that position, okay? So it's really vital that we bring awareness to our breath as we're going through here. It's not just a set of like, okay, make sure you're breathing, but more importantly is if I get like, that almost like my breath is taken away and I feel restriction as far as my breathing pattern goes, that's a signal that my brain and my body are essentially in a place of sensitivity and maybe overwhelm, where if I can allow myself and teach myself to breathe and accept and kind of come into that position, now once it comes to moving, whether that be for your sport or whether it be for your training session or whatever that may be. If I can teach myself to open and utilize those positions and access those positions with my breath, then all of a sudden, when it comes to accessing it in the gym or on the playing field, it's second nature, and I'm not having to all of a sudden force it. And it's like, I don't know why I can't get in that position, because if I can't get in there passively, it's certainly not going to happen under dynamic or chaotic circumstances. All right, so yet again, that's why we want to focus and be aware of what's going on with our breath, right? Like, am I breathing? Am I able to breathe in that position? Because once again, if I can't breathe in that position, I don't own that position. All right. From there, as we work through that, I might rotate away from that knee. I can even press that knee out a little bit. I want to just get curious with different angles and different things that are restriction. From here, I might even just rotate, kind of drop that shoulder down a little bit, kind of working that lower lumbar up into that T-spine a little bit. As I'm working, get that knee pressed out, kind of sit back. I might even just roll over onto that outside of the foot, kind of hit some different tissues through there. Yet again, just breathing, right? Just trying to get curious, trying to find some spots. As I'm through here, if I find some real spots of restriction, contract, breathe, okay? For some of you guys, you might think of this almost like as a 4-4-8 type of sequence on here. So I'm gonna inhale. 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, 4, 1,000, hold for a 4 count, 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, 4, 1,000, nice long exhale, 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, 4, 1,000, that would be a box breathing pattern. As we work through there, you guys, is one thing we really want to be conscientious and cognizant of is that breathing pattern is trying to at least make my exhale as long as my inhale, okay? Ideally, I want that exhale to be even longer than that inhale, so that way I'm getting proper gas exchange. That exhale is going to basically promote that rest and recovery, that parasympathetic nervous system to turn on, because if I'm into restricted and kind of panting breathing, I'm really opening myself up to get into more sympathetic nervous system and getting to more like that fight or flight type of scenario. And all of a sudden, if I'm into that, my body's not going to allow me to open up and access different tissues. All right, so as I'm rotating around through here, next thing I might do is get some external rotation. As I'm doing that, I'm really trying to press through this opposite hip. Really squeeze this glute on the backside, because oftentimes we see a lot of, when it comes to the knee and stuff like that, we see a lot of glute dysfunction as well. So we want to really focus on squeezing that glute, rotate through there. If you're tight across that connection in the junction of the lower tib and that and kind of that ankle and front portion of your shin, that tib region, you might see if you can drop that foot down nice and flat. Really say that, kind of drag that knee, that back knee into the floor, kind of extend through there. Also, as we're working into that rectus through there, you can prop yourself up onto the big toe. See if you can squeeze that quad, hang for a count. Breathe out. Good breath in. A nice little contraction. Breathe out. Prop that down. Rotate through there. You have enough. Rotate on that lateral part, get that TFL off to the side through there. For myself, that's a really area of restriction. I'm going to prop myself up on this arm. Just see if I can drop this down as I press it through that knee. Just trying to open up from my oblique down to that hip. We'll get into that inside of the hamstring. Also on this, you guys, you might notice if you're a little bit tight across that kind of the connection point of the hamstring into that front portion of the or the top portion of the calf. As we're through here, we're just going to get some motion, promoting some motion through the knee, the hip. The knee, the hamstring connection on there. But this is also has a high propensity for possibly some neural stuff going on through there. There's a lot of nerves that go through there. We're gonna get some flossing potentially in there, but if you do feel any sort of tension across that, and we start getting really kind of that nervy, kind of electrical storm going through there, keep the toe pointed. That will negate some of that, propulsion for that nerve and that kind of that tension that happened through there. So as we come through there, we can kind of sit back, and also we can get kind of that backside of the quad. So I can come through here, hand on inside, hand on outside, kind of get some rock, hang back. Yet again, if I pull my toe and tuck the chin, that's gonna get a little bit more of that flossing type of movement to come across that nerve, especially if you have some bouts of sciaticus or any of those kind of things. We're just kind of, yet again, just trying to promote and get some sliding surfaces happening through there. But yet again, if that's a nervy thing for you, just keep the toe pointed and just let yourself kind of hang back and forth. Again, I can rotate outside, rotate on the inside, and just kind of find some different tissues. I'm going to tight on that back side of the knee, kind of that front portion of the tib. I can hang that for a second on the back side. Just get some breathing, pull toe back at you, especially if you're tight across that calf. Good, just nice easy breath. Nice easy, pull toe. Good. And as we work through that, you can also add in, as I come into that, I can turn this leg straight and basically drag, almost like I'm trying to drag this knee into the floor and pull this knee forward. So really can kind of open up that inside of the groin, pull that chest up tall, get a rock back, squeeze forward, get kind of almost that over-exaggerated kind of frog position through there. Forward. I would recommend, obviously, if you are on a carpet or you have a mat or something like that, that will help with some of the knees on that. About 5 on one side, we'll do the same on the other. Start off with that foot outside. Yet again, just start off with some curiosity. Start off with some curiosity, just get some rocking going on. Just breathing, just kind of moving, kind of seeing, okay, what did I do yesterday? What did I do the day before? What might be talking to me a little bit? See what's going on with the hips. That hip flexor. On my other side, I notice my inside of my groin is a little bit tight. On this side, I'm definitely noticing my hip flexor a little bit tighter. So if I'm there, yet again, I'm gonna use the foam roller on this side and kind of prop myself up through here, kind of work across. This might be a little bit too high for me, so I'll use the ball. Yet again, for you guys that are more mobile through that hip, you can place elbow down on the floor, kind of work through there. Press out through that knee a little bit, just get some circles through there, just see if you can promote just a little bit more opening on those tissues. Don't have to be aggressive on that. Good, and then I'm gonna rotate away, through there, try to drop down, press out through that knee a little bit. Right now that foot's flat. You guys, as you get better with it, turn that out to the ankle. Just try to open that up a little bit, turn away a little bit more. While you rotate back, just kind of back and forth. Reach out, get across that kind of posterior sling, across there. Like I said, that back hip flexor for me was a little bit tight, so I'm gonna take a second. I'm gonna pull my toes underneath me, try to get all 5 toes on there. And then from there, I'm gonna pull my chest up. Really think about squeezing my glute on this left side and my knee, squeezing that quad. Hang for a second, and sit down a little bit more. Squeeze for a second. Add some rotation into that. So I get the same thing as I'm through there. So we can drop down, so we get that rotation across that TFL again on this side. And definitely notice this side is not nearly the same tension as it is on the other side. So yet again, it's just being curious, right? Like I noticed, like I said, this TFL on this side isn't nearly the same tension or the same element of kind of sending that discomfort for me on this side. So I know if that, I might have some compensations going on, I might have some movement thing, I might have slept wrong, depending on what I was doing last night or even during the daily activities on those things. So it's being able to, yet again, it's being able to kind of see and not negate what's going on in my body, but be able to kind of see it from a different level of understanding, okay, well, what's telling me here? Hey, this is a little bit tight, this is a little bit restricted. I might have some sensations that are going on that might be not necessarily the same realm that they normally are. What is that trying to tell me, all right? We'll get into those hamstrings and that calf connection on this, you guys. Yet again, if you're having sensations of that, kind of that neurological, that nerviness type of thing going on through there, it's uncomfortable, don't worry about going into it. Yet again, keep that toe nice and straight. But from here, I'm gonna pull toe back at me. Okay, I'm gonna get a little flossing. You know, for me, I'm gonna play a little bit more of a rec soccer, getting back in that. So my connection point, my hamstring on this side is definitely a lot more tender. So it's just trying to really be aware of it. Yet again, I can use an apparatus here to kind of help out with that. Breathe. And then I'm going to add in that adductor kind of opening. Pull back, toe in, and then from there I'm going to rotate, press into the groin, kind of drag that back knee in, back, rotate, pull the chest up a little bit more, squeeze my belly, okay? Because not only do we want to be able to focus, we also want to be able to kind of see in elements of restriction. Because yet again, if I'm restricted through passive range of motion, and then all of a sudden I start to wanting to add in other activities, whether that be via load or speed or whatever that may be, if I can't access these things under controlled passive circumstances, I'm definitely not going to do it all of a sudden under chaotic or dynamic circumstances. So the more I can allow myself to yet again breathe and open these tissues under controlled elements and just kind of come from a place of curiosity, like, okay, this is part of my morning routine and I'm going to go work out at the gym later. I know, like, okay, when I was warming up this morning and kind of moving around, my hips on the backside, my groin, everything else, were a little bit tight. So when I go through my warm-up routine, I know these are maybe some areas to give a little bit more attention or maybe some activation to kind of get the pattern moving for us. All right, so that was kind of the opening sequence of just something you can incorporate either in the morning or at night. I found it to be that very, very beneficial on there, you guys. 5 to 10 minutes, that was about 5.5 minutes each side on there. We'll continue throwing the patterns together, but if you find things in your bag that all of a sudden you tend to notice that you would like a little bit more exposure to, by all means throw those in there, but let yourself, yet again, come place from curiosity, make sure you're breathing, okay, and the other thing on there is allow yourself time to hang out in these positions. The more time you hang out in these positions, the more your body will be able to access it, right? Like the body moves and creates a tool bag by essentially, if you don't use it, you lose it, right? And so we want to be able to use it so we hold on to it forever. So yeah, hope that helps y'all.